with the Fifth Journey, and we are back with the foundations classes. Today we are going to be going over Frappe. And Frappe is all about quickness and how fast you can really connect and work that lower leg and a hamstring. So with the Frappe, actually, first of all, make sure that you watch the previous ones before this. I know some of them are a little bit lengthy because there's so much important information. Even with the tiniest thing at the bar, there's so much to think about. It's not just going through the motions. You really have to work those muscles to make sure that you're doing the correct thing in order to protect yourself and so that you can do things off the bar and center floor. Okay, so Frappe. Frappe means to strike. You are striking the ground with the ball of your foot. And with that, there's two different ways of doing it. There's en terre on the ground, and then there's en l'air in the air. So with a Frappe, you're going to be, this is en terre, you're going to be in a flex position, and your foot is, mine is right above my ankle bone. So it kind of depends on how your body is made. A lot of ballet and the positioning is determined by your body composition. So something that may work well on somebody or be in one position on somebody may not be how it is on you because you are made differently. No two bodies are the same, so no two bodies are going to look exactly the same when you're dancing or doing anything. So anyway, for me, it is right above my ankle bone. I'm in that flex position. I still have this even hip, even turned out through my body. I'm engaging in that supporting leg, and I'm wrapping with my working thigh. Now, I'm not squeezing my seat. So in this position, I'm engaging here, and I'm engaging through my ankle, and I'm engaging through my hamstring, which is holding up my calf, the lower part of my leg. But there's, other than turning out, there's nothing going on here. Now, when I go out, I can feel that engaged. So you don't want to sit in this position and tuck your seat under because you're engaging muscles you don't need to work at this point, okay? But in the action of moving, yes, you would. Same thing with those tendus, battements, dégagés, the positioning that we've talked about. You will still go in those same positions. So I'm going devant. I'm going to line up with my supporting heel. When I'm going, also going second, I'm going to be lining up with my second. Derriere, I'm going to be lining up again with that supporting heel. And then, of course, back when you're doing en croix, back to your second position, okay? So what I like to do is prep when I'm at the bar. You have a tendu and a flex. That's what I like to do. So if you're counting down, you have 5, 6 from fifth or from first, whatever, 5, 6, 7, and 8, and then you are all ready to go. Flex position, equally turned out. Now with me, and I talked about this in a previous video, because of the way that my leg is structured, I have more torque in my lower leg because of the way my body is made. So when I'm in this flex position, I physically cannot turn my leg to be in line here. If I turn my leg in, to me, that is sickling. So on you, if you look down, everything may be in line, or your foot may be a little bit farther back. So again, whatever positioning works best for your body. So when you are doing your Frappe, you are going to go out, extend out to a straightened position. You're going to, as you go, you're going to strike the ground with the ball of your foot, not your toes. So I'm striking it with the ball of my foot, and then I'm pointing as hard as I can out from there in basically a dégagé position. When you come back in, you do not touch the ground. You're going to flex straight in from there. So it's straight and in. Straight and in. It is very sharp. Some people, and I shouldn't say some people, sometimes, depending on the counts, you will do it even, so you'll be out and in. Sometimes you're going to go as quickly as you can back in. So it's a quick one in, or is it out, in and in. It really depends on what your counts are and what the teacher is wanting you to do. So you have 5, 6, 7, 8. You have a strike, and then you're going to flex and pull it back in. Strike, and then flex and pull it back in. As I am striking, I am gripping, squeezing my quadricep because that is going to engage a very fast opening of that leg. And as it comes in, my quadricep is relaxing, and I'm engaging my hamstring to close the lower part of my leg, okay? So I engage here, and then I release. Engage here, and I release. Now, if you can see a little bit, obviously I'm going to a forward position. I have to, almost like a passe, I have to pull my leg back. Coupe, passe, I'm pulling my leg back to keep that turned out position. Obviously, it won't be the same as if I'm clear up here because I can't get that position, if that makes sense. I'm not going to be all the way out. So you're striking out, and I'm pulling everything, rotating it out, and pulling it back in. Strike, and then pull it back in. When I'm going to the side, I'm going to hit my second position. So I'm going to strike from there. So remember that line, I'm drawing a line from there. That's where I'm going to strike, and it doesn't matter if I'm closing devant or derriere, I'm going to strike in that same position. With the positioning of your flex foot, it's basically the same as you would have it in your coupe, right? Okay, so I'm trying to aim for that same area there. Derriere, this is the one where it gets a little bit wonky. Number one, you're not going to strike the ball of your foot because you can't. If you're going to strike the ball of your foot, you're going to have to stick with your ankle, and that's really yucky. You don't want to do that. So I'm actually going for about this front part of my big toe, and I'm scooping out from there. That's a more delicate part of your foot, so don't whack your foot on the ground. And if you have point shoes on, be a little bit more cautious because that lengthens, that adds on to your foot. And it does take a little bit of getting used to, especially when you're going derriere, okay? You don't want to hit too high up on that foot. All right, so derriere, a couple things. You're going to, again, strike that side part of your foot, pointing out from there, flexing again. And anytime we are in an open position with the leg lifted to the back, we do have to tilt our pelvis slightly because we're not parallel. We're not Barbie dolls. Our legs don't get to freely swing this way. We have bones and muscles and ligaments and things in the way. So you must tilt ever so slightly in your pelvis. I've talked about this a lot. So when you come back in, remember squeezing where the quadricep connects to your, where the back of the leg connects to your seat. That is what pulls everything back in where it needs to be, to your neutral position, okay? So you're going out, and you're coming back in, and you're squeezing out, and then coming back in. So again, you don't want to get here, and then leave your seat behind you, yeah? Okay, so you have to tuck everything back in as it comes in. Now the second part, maybe the third part, whatever we're on with derriere, is the mental aspect of where the leg goes. And this, if you've taken any of the ballet classes with me, I will talk about this in frappes. This happens more, is more apparent when you're on l'air, when you're up in the air. But when you're going derriere, I don't want you to think of going back. I want you to think of going more down with the leg, because I see a lot of times when we go back, the upper body ends up going with us, and we end up kind of in this duck position, right? So this is not what you want to have going on, especially when you're going fast. That's when it becomes more apparent. But instead of thinking back, if you think down, down, down with the leg, that helps me pull everything up here. I keep everything engaged from the ankle all the way up through my quadricep to my hip flexor. Hips are even all the way up to my chest and my shoulders. Everything is engaged there, and I can focus on going down, 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 down versus back, back. Does that make sense? So just change that little shift will really help. Okay, on l'air, in the air. This is a little bit different. So you have a nice releve on the supporting leg. You are in a pointed coupe. So this is a coupe position. Your foot stays pointed. You do not strike the floor. So it is simply going out and coming back in, out and coming back in, whichever position that you are in for that frappe. Now, when I was talking about thinking about down, this is what it really is important. So if you think down, down, down versus, oh, I gotta go back, it is so much easier just to try that. Think, I'm going down, 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 okay? I have seen some classes where they will combine the flexed and pointed foot. So they will have a terre, the foot is pointed, and then they will quickly flex and point, and then coming back in with a pointed foot. I have never been trained that way. However, I have taken a class that way. It is very, very difficult when you've been dancing for decades and trying to flex and point and then pull it back in, because that muscle memory takes over. So that's actually something, if you want to try it, just kind of a mental exercise. Go slow so you don't end up whacking your toes on the ground, okay? Because it's difficult to go, especially when you're trying to go a little faster, to get that quick flex in and to strike and then point that foot again, because, and I feel like my toes are crunching, but that is an exercise that people have done in frappe. When you are doing combinations where you are doing a beat, a double beat, you will typically go the opposite direction almost always go the opposite direction unless the teacher has some extra special thing they want to do. So if I'm doing a double beat devant, I will go back, front, front, back, front, front. So that is where that double beat comes in. When you go al second, second, it kind of depends on where you're going to end up. So if it's a 3, you may change one way. If it's an even, the nice thing about the frappe is your foot ends up out. So if you close in a weird way, just, close it a different way, next time. So it makes it super easy because your foot's out there. If I need to go derriere, I'm just going to close at the back. When I'm going derriere, you have front, back, back, front, back, back. Releve, when you're on layer, same thing. It stays pointed. You have back, front, front, back, front, front. You really have to work on the supporting leg when you are doing any of those double beats, okay? So really lifting, really engaging. And last thing, I'm trying not to make this one as long as my other ones. The last thing on frappes is when you are doing serré or battu, and that's when you, typically it's the end of the exercise or in the midpoint before maybe you reverse and repeat it. It's when you're in that second position and you are beating that leg in as quickly as you can. So a couple of things with that. Serré is basically going as fast as you can. Battu is the beat, so that is when you are changing direction on there. So we'll do serré first. When you are at your ankle, you're in your second position lineup. So you are square here, your knee is in line with your body. Not the side of the rim, but that's not where your turnout is. So it's in line with your body, and your foot is coming in at your ankle. You are pointed, you're coming in, and it is a quick impulse right here. So I'm squeezing very quickly, as quick as I can, right there. The calf is loose, so you will feel your calf muscle moving around in that position because you don't want to grip everything down because you're focusing on this muscle. This is training for quickness and quick foot movement, quick leg muscle movement, quick twitch movement, okay? So when you do this, you basically are coming in as quickly as you can. It's not at the ankle. So sometimes with beginners, we start to go with the ankle, or if we start getting tired, this part gives out and then the ankle starts going. If you start getting tired, just go a little slower. Don't lose what you're working on. Don't start doing the ankle. It's not there, okay? And then with the battu, that is going from back to front. So you're switching from coupe to coupe. And with that, I don't want to see, we talked about this when we were doing rond de jambe, and I don't want to see the leg going here, because that's not a position that we would do in ballet, really. And what you need to do is rotating through the hip socket ever so slightly just to get to that coupe derriere, okay? So it's just a little tiny rotation in the hip socket. It's not from here down. So I don't want you to try to keep this here and then torque your knee. You don't want to do that. You want to protect your knee. So it's just a tiny rotation. I'm still maintaining my line there, okay? And then when you close, you're usually typically out to your second position. You close in your susu or whatever the teacher is wanting you to do. Finish in first, or sometimes with flick-flack. We're not going to go into those because there's a whole different set of explanations on that. So that is the breakdown of a frappe. It's really, the purpose is to work on those fast muscle movements, okay? So we'll see you next time.